For an update on some breaking news happening in Dallas County right now, where we are told law enforcement agencies are in pursuit of a vehicle. You see it right there on your screen. That black Mercedes is the vehicle that's leading police on a chase right now. We're told that this all started in Kaufman County. The Kaufman County Constable Precinct 2's office were trying to initiate a traffic stop because of individuals in that vehicle were wanted on some traffic violations. So far, we've seen this pursuit stretch from Kaufman County through several highways. They're right now on eastbound I-30, passing Big Town rather. They've been traveling at high rates of speeds, going through communities like Garland, traveling past streets like Plano Road, Walnut Hill. Right now, again, they're on eastbound I-30. Rebecca, you have seen these play out and you're familiar with the chase policies from law enforcement agencies across North Texas. What can help us put this into perspective? Is this uncommon right now?
No, it's happening more and more often. At least in the last month, I feel like we've had several of these now. Most of the outlying areas, the smaller communities, don't have pursuit policies. Dallas police, they do, because they believe that the more you chase, the more you're putting the public and officers in danger. And so they have a very strict policy. They definitely would not pursue or even jump into this pursuit right now because of what you are, because of that, putting anyone in danger. What you are seeing, though, are the constables, and they do have some help. I'm told that the DPS helicopter is above this chase, also guiding and helping the constables from Precinct 2 chase this vehicle down I-30 right now. Don't expect any DPD ground units, though, to join in on this.
And Rebecca, we're told that they're heading toward 635 right now. And I know you've been working the phones, and we found out that DPS is assisting right now. Mm-hmm. That gives law enforcement agencies on the ground an advantage because they can see what's happening. I know sometimes tactical wise, that can also give them some heads up on where they may need to put strips.
Right, that's exactly right. And now the Dallas County Sheriff's Office and also DPS, they would use those stop strips to try to puncture the tires. Dallas Police no longer even issues stop sticks or anything like that because they feel like they are also a danger to officers. There have been officers killed throwing those out on the freeway. So they don't typically use those, but DPS has a they have a more lenient policy when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I would suspect you might see some DPS troopers ahead of this, trying to get ahead of that. Maybe also some Dallas County Sheriff's deputies getting out there and helping with this pursuit. Yeah. I will say that Dallas will put up its chopper at times in what is called tactical apprehension. It's something that they are doing more often, and they've actually caught people in these types of situations, in these traffic situations, that have been violent offenders.
Wow. You see, Rebecca, that car is driving really erratically right now. The good news we can imagine is that there's not a lot of traffic on that highway right now as this chase inches towards 635. They're approaching Beltline right now. Again, if you're just tuning in, we're told that this just past Beltline. If you're tuning in, we're told that this pursuit happened in Kaufman County. Law enforcement right now is chasing what you see, that black car in the screen. That's a Mercedes that they were trying to initiate a stop for vehicle violations. Right now, Kaufman County Precinct 2 Constable's Office is initiating this case. Rebecca, we've seen that car dodging around different vehicles. Folks on the road don't know what's going on. I see some law enforcement is ahead of this ahead of this chase as they approach Bobtown right now. Help us put this into a little bit more perspective. Are police agencies being real strategic about where we're seeing them right now?
No, honestly, some of these chases, like in this chase right here, Dallas police would not chase in this situation because it is a traffic violation, and perhaps the person in there may have more violent offenses or something. We don't know. But for a traffic violation, you are putting a lot of people at risk to chase for something like this. That's at least by some of the experts that have asked for stricter policies regarding chases. But when you're dealing with the constables, the sheriff's department, the smaller communities around Dallas, they don't have those policies, and they pretty much chase for everything or anything. And in this case, I mean, they're going at high rates of speed. So the more that this chase goes on, the more that you are risking some, injury to the public or to an officer. And in this case, in this situation right now, I can tell you, Dallas police would have called it off. A, they wouldn't have chased for this, and
Wow,
B, they would have called it off. Look at that. The more that you do this, the more that you are putting the public at risk. And I'm actually surprised that they haven't called this off at this point.
Yeah, we're coming to you live this afternoon from our newsroom. They're passing Bass Pro right now. This you're looking at on your screen is a chase that started in Kaufman County right now. They're going through several North Texas cities, and they're near Bass Pro right now. It looks like this black Mercedes that police are chasing is just getting caught in between some of the cars right now. We understand that a cop just ahead of here had some spike strips, but the car maneuvered its way off to the shoulder. We've been seeing them drive erratically around different cars on this highway right now, speeding into the shoulders. We saw this play out most recently just about a week and a half ago when some individuals that one law enforcement agency was chasing into Dallas County Sheriff's Office helped pick them up. Ended up that they had an infant in the car with them. And in a situation like this, we can only imagine that the police do not know what kind of danger there may be in the vehicle outside of the fact that whoever they were trying to stop led them on a chase right now.
Well, and what's really I guess it's kind of ironic a little bit that there is actually a funeral going on right now for an officer that was killed out of Grand Prairie last week chasing for stolen license plate paper tags, or had a fake paper tag on it. That officer lost his life for chasing in kind of similar, situation, and unfortunately,
Wow,
he just, he's lost control.
There.
Yeah.
But he's regained control right now, and he's going to continue leading police on this chase.
This is
it's
very
so interesting
dangerous.
that you bring up Officer Sy from from Grand Prairie Police Department. That is happening today. His family, colleagues, other law enforcement agencies are meeting right now because of what happened to that particular officer while pursuing an individual who led them on a chase. They're by Dow Rock right now. You see him going through one of the entrances onto a highway again. He's westbound, and you can only imagine that the police, they really don't know what's going through the driver's mind. So they have to be pretty alert.
And, and again, I was saying that, when, and there have been cases where, they've been in situations like this, chasing for a violation like this, where they're just looking for a traffic violation or stolen tags or a stolen vehicle. And when they did finally pull them over, they have found violent felons. In fact, Dallas police, while they don't chase for stolen cars, just last week or 2 weeks ago, were chasing a guy in what was believed to be a stolen vehicle, not with their ground units, because again, they feel like that's putting officers in danger, but with their helicopter in this tactical apprehension that they're using. And when they pulled him over, he was actually wanted for 2 murders and some armed robberies, and so they caught a guy like that. But for the most part, typically in situations like this, they're not wanted for anything like that's that violent.
And yeah, Rebecca, they're approaching the Bush Turnpike right now. If you see the cars moving on either side of this black vehicle that is leading police on the chase, you can imagine that they're probably going at least 70 miles per hour.
Yeah, and we do want to remind people that we are on a delay right now, so you guys are we're seeing things before you are, because we do have that delay.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up,
yeah.
Rebecca. And right now, on this stretch, not a whole lot of vehicles around them, but that's not going to stop the police from actively pursuing them, or I guess we'll see momentarily if they scale things back just because of the danger. We've been seeing this black vehicle bounce in and out of traffic. Right now he's driving on a shoulder, and we've seen that several times. At one point he almost lost control, as if he was going to spin out, but he gained control and started this pursuit again.
And what they could do is just leave the DPS chopper up and have the DPS chopper follow, especially for something like traffic violations, and then pull your ground units back, because again, if you're having police officers also chasing at a high rate of speed for something like this, you're putting those officers, you're putting other people at greater risk. So I would suspect, I don't know, I can't see if those units have backed off, but they could call the ground chase off and then just chase with the helicopter. And especially if you know that this person's wanted for traffic violations, then you know who that person is.
Yeah.
And you go back and arrest them later for evading arrest. But so and you can just leave the DPS chopper up, and that would be possibly a little bit safer than what's happening right now.
Yeah, and that's if that vehicle isn't a stolen vehicle. I know that was one of the cases in one of the most recent chases. They were a car was reported stolen out of another municipality, and as soon as the officers approached it, that driver drove off.
Yeah.
And that was the case that we were talking about most recently with the infant in the car at the time.
And they were switching vehicles, and then we had another chase last week where they also switched vehicles, and they were calling each other. Now those people were in a stolen car, but they were actually in two stolen cars that eventually changed people, and they got were changed into the car. And so what you're seeing is that happening more often if you have these stolen car theft rings that you're seeing, a lot of, and a lot of the vehicles that you see being chased recently have been those stolen cars that they're looking for.
Rebecca, right now they're approaching 635, and you'll see in your screen that driver again kind of went over into a median and regained control as he's zipping around a few vehicles. Rebecca, are officers monitoring video like this in terms of training and possibly legislation?
Oh yeah, you bet. And in fact, there have been some states. California has banned pursuits in certain situations like this because they have had people that were killed and innocent bystanders. And in fact, one of the reasons I was here when David Kunkel, the former police chief, changed the chase policy, and he did it after a woman was killed, a grandma. She was coming from the grocery store, and a suspect that was wanted for stealing candy. It was a shoplifting, and she was killed. And since DPD changed its chase policy, they have had fewer deaths, fewer injury to people, to officers, not as many vehicles wrecked out. They don't really even train on things that they call like pit maneuvers, where you would get in front of the car and then stick your car out in front so that it would stop them, that you would wreck into the squad car. They don't even train on any of that. And again, they did away with the stop sticks, also for officer safety. So they don't do that as well. They don't even carry them in their vehicles anymore. But again, DPS, sheriff's departments, everybody has their own policies, and depending on what jurisdiction you're in, depends on what they do. Again, in this situation like this would definitely be something that the Dallas Police Department would not pursue.
Yeah, and Rebecca, this chase just advanced from I-30 to northbound 635. We can see this black car on your screen who's being tailed by the white SUV. That's a law enforcement vehicle, still leading folks on chase. It's kind of interesting, Rebecca, to seeing this car zip around other vehicles, just getting off that entrance ramp, how he zoomed around one car in that narrow little stretch, and now successfully made it onto 635 as he continues to lead police on this chase.
And I do think it's interesting. I mean, you literally only see right now, unless we can have a wider shot, we only see that constable car. You don't see even Garland or Rockwall, and when they turned back around, so they didn't go through Dallas, but you don't see any other agencies. You don't even see DPS troopers at this point. So I suspect that they're following them with that chopper and that one vehicle. And again, they could, if they know who this is, because they have to know at least what they believe is a person for traffic violation, then they might know who this person is already. So
yeah, it makes you wonder, is this even worth it? Is this even worth putting lives at risk on the highway? Is it even worth having police tail you? They're right now at northbound 635 at Garland Road as this chase continues. Rebecca, you talk to so many law enforcement agencies. When they get a call, if they get a call for mutual aid on a situation like this, have they communicated to you how eager or reluctant they are in helping out an agency, especially if it comes to something like a traffic violation?
Absolutely. A lot of agencies will help out if a chase is coming through their city. This one's moving pretty quickly through different cities. But again, there are agencies like Dallas, they're just not going to help in this situation because they're not going to use their ground units that would put anyone or people at risk. So they would just be with the chopper. Now, they might help you out with the chopper, which is what you have seen Dallas police use their helicopter to help with mutual aid to other municipalities, but in this case, it's a constable, and typically the constables we know deal with not really violent felons, but civil issues. Yeah. So I don't know why the constable's office was in trying to pull this car over, other than maybe, who knows, maybe they didn't use a blinker. I mean, they say traffic violations. That makes me wonder, did the person not use a blinker? Did the person run a stop sign? Like, we don't know that yet, and why
they're. Could have been a paper tag.
Could have been the paper tag. They haven't said stolen vehicle at this point, so I suspect that they are just, they might have seen him with a traffic violation of some sort.
Yeah. Just to put things into perspective for you right now, we're cutting into programming to let you know about some breaking news happening in Dallas County right now. It started with a chase out of Kaufman County Precinct 2. Constables tried to initiate a traffic stop for a vehicle. You'll see it on your screen momentarily, a black Mercedes, we're told, that had a traffic violation. That chase started in Kaufman County and entered into Dallas County, going through communities like Garland and through I-30 and 635 right now where they are. We've seen a few law enforcement agency vehicles. Not really give you a good perspective on how many vehicles may be involved in this chase, but that's the situation right now. And Rebecca, you've been talking to your law enforcement sources who've been able to give you some information about tactically what's happening.
Right, yes, of course, DPS has their helicopter up. They have what's called Air One. DPS is Air One. It's over this chase, and so they're able to see what is happening. And in cases like this, especially if they're dealing with somebody with a traffic violation, they would typically call a chase off like this, especially at the high rates of speed that you have seen it going, and then you would just follow it with the helicopter, which then you're not putting as many people at risk with your ground units. And again, the constables deal with like civil situation. So it's not like they're looking for someone that they had a murder warrant for, or a robbery warrant, or an aggravated assault, or a violent felony. So it's not like they think that the person that they are chasing is a violent felon at this point. They're chasing for a traffic violation. And so that definitely puts people at risk for what some people would consider a very minor infraction. And so DPS, I'm told, is now taking over this pursuit. So that is when they bring in the DPS troopers, that you might see them put some stop sticks there. The DPS has a very lenient chase policy. They can actually do a lot of things that the Dallas Police Department and other units don't do typically in their chase policies. They can use those, what they call pit maneuvers, to try to stop the vehicle and block the vehicle in. They can use the stop sticks. They can continue. They've got more flex, and I've even seen them if it's gone for a long time and they're really putting people at risk. I've seen DPS shoot out the tires or shoot out the engine block. So I don't think that that's going to happen in this situation. They're not chasing somebody that they believe right now that we know of is a violent felon. So
and DPS probably is more familiar with the local highway system than some of our local police in terms of tactically trying to figure out what maneuvers to take in trying to apprehend the driver who's leading them on a chase.
And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that they would put troopers on something like this, because they do have that discretion. And again, you can pursue vehicles, but if something happens to a citizen, you have to, the pursuit policies, even the state laws, basically say that it has to be within reason, within reason of, and public safety. You still have to take public safety into account. Even if you're chasing somebody for a violent felony, or you have to take the public danger and into account. And if it is becoming too dangerous to chase a vehicle, especially for traffic violation, there is state law that prohibits that type of putting people in danger if it gets too dangerous. And law enforcement agents are still, it's incumbent upon them to decide whether or not they need to call off this chase.
And Rebecca, you brought up a good point a few moments ago. If you're just joining, Rebecca pointed out the irony of this chase happening today. Today, folks in Grand Prairie community are paying their respects to the life of Officer Brandon Sy, who was killed last week during a chase where he was trying to stop an individual during a traffic stop because that individual had fake tags, those fake paper plates on his car. When Officer Sy pursued that vehicle, an accident happened, and unfortunately he didn't survive that accident, so it was an in-line of duty death. But just to point it out, that's top of mind for many law enforcement agencies right now as they're preparing for his funeral, because many of them will be in attendance to pay their respects. And you believe that a lot of agencies have been reevaluating their pursuit policies because of recent issues that have happened in and around North Texas.
And again, there have been some states that have passed laws that prohibit chases for things like this because of the danger to the public and because people have died getting hit by vehicles. And in fact, there were some people that were trying to push for legislation that would basically give some what's called kind of like an Amber Alert, but it would alert you when there's a police chase around your area so that you can try to avoid the area. They want some sort of alert system. I spoke with a woman whose son was killed years ago near Midlothian, and she was very concerned. Her son was just 18 years old, I believe, coming home from work. The guy was being chased for nonviolent felony, crashes into the victim and kills him. And so that mom really pushed for changes.
Rebecca, we just have a note on details where this chase is right now. As we work to get that video and images back to you, we're told that the chase is now escalated into a residential area around Forest Lane and Skillman. Now, we know when it moves into a residential area, there's so many unknowns and anything is possible. We saw how that chase a week and a half ago went from highways into the West Dallas neighborhood near a daycare center. So we saw that flip and flop into onto medians and alleys, crashed into a dump truck, also crashed into some fences. We're told that the individual driving that black vehicle is bailed now in that residential area. So that put things into a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that the reason that DPS took this over is because they were just going to leave their chopper up. They were not going to use ground units anymore. And obviously then he went into the residential neighborhood, bailed out. There'll probably be a foot pursuit. I suspect this person will be caught, if not already. Okay, so we're getting some updates in our ears.
We're told that that individual, the driver, is running through a neighborhood near Plano Road. I guess when they bail and when they think about strategic moves to get law enforcement on the ground, have them scale back and have that helicopter up there, that may work to law enforcement's advantage in terms of catching this guy.
And they're alerting officers in the area too, so there'll be officers that can set up very quickly a perimeter to try and catch those guys. We did see that happen in Dallas recently, where they were no longer chasing with vehicles, but they had the helicopter up, and then they had the officers in the vicinity, and then they swooped in and got him. But that again, very. I mean, some people will look at this and say it's a very dangerous, high rate of speed chase for a traffic violation, and to many people in law enforcement, especially if you talk to the higher command staff, chiefs and stuff, they don't think that's worth the risk to the public and to their officers.
Yeah, and I guess it swings things public safety-wise into a different perspective, because now it's a foot chase. We don't know how dangerous this individual may be, and yet law enforcement, outside of folks watching our air, don't know the potential danger in that particular residential area around Forest Lane and Skillman, that someone on foot is being pursued by police. Don't have a good description of that individual right now. We know that they were driving a black Mercedes before they bailed and started to run in that area.
Now they're saying that he was wearing a white hoodie, and he is now somewhere between two houses, and that there are officers in that area. And again, now you have to worry about whether or not that person does have a weapon. And again, there are also policies regarding chase foot pursuits, at least with Dallas. Some of the others don't have the same, but they've had officers that have been shot at. They have officers that have been injured in foot pursuits. So they also have a somewhat stricter foot pursuit policy. But I don't know what the policy is in. I believe they must be near Plano or North Dallas. But I don't know what their policy is in the particular city that they're in, but now you'll expect that there'll be a perimeter around the area, and they'll work to put this person arrested. It sounds like they have him surrounded, so they'll probably get him arrested pretty soon.
Yeah, and I guess situational advice, if you are in that area in North Dallas, knowing this situation, knowing that police are pursuing an unknown individual wearing a white hoodie. He's on foot. He's in a residential area, and here's some images from that particular neighborhood right now. You can see it's densely populated with homes. If you are in this area in Northeast Dallas, it's probably a good idea to lock your doors. They have the canines out right now. We see that the police or whichever law enforcement agency in that area has brought out its dogs. We see one SUV going down an alleyway while an officer is going through the side of some homes with that dog.
And I do believe I did see Dallas police. That's probably DPD. Now they will help in this situation once the chase is over. They can, obviously, because the person is in Dallas. They'll have Dallas police. It looks like Northeast Patrol. That dog is running. He obviously gets.
Oh,
there's the guy right there.
There he is.
He's
trying
about
to scale
to
a fence.
get bit or something.
It doesn't look like the police are going to get him. He scaled a fence and he's running on the side of some homes. It looks like he's limping. He may be injured a little bit, unless it's just impact from the fall that he just took scaling that fence. He's scaling another fence right there. You just see him, a glimpse of him right behind the trees over there, and he's again scaling another one, Rebecca. So he's really trying to lose police here.
Yeah, definitely. But it looks like they've got it pretty surrounded. You'll probably see officers come around on the other end of this street, or he's not going to get very far, I don't suspect, unless he goes into one of those homes. And then if he somehow enters into the house, then you've got a whole nother situation. Now you've got a barricaded person, and then you've got to, pull back and call in your SWAT team or something. But it looks like, but he's still running, because again, we are in a delay, so we are hearing and seeing things that you're not seeing yet. But he's definitely trying to get away from the DPD dog. That's probably right on his heels, and he's not going to.
Looks like he's
on
running
top
in
of
circles right now, jumping on top of an SUV,
him.
Little sedan right there. And this guy, he's surrendering to police right now. He's going to get on the ground, and he's lying in the prone position right there. The dog's been scaled back.
Yeah, they'll what they have now, there'll be more ground units. The officers are probably coming around pretty quickly. I suspect that they've flooded this area now, and then they'll bring in their marked units and patrol officers to make this arrest for the constables out of Precinct 2. And again, remember, this started out of Kaufman County for a traffic violations of some sort, and they were the Precinct 2 constables that were chasing him. And there you see some
those
look like Dallas sheriffs, and they'll surround this area with a bunch of officers.
Yeah, it looks like the suspect is in custody, and since we've been following this case, we didn't see any signs of any accidents on the highway or any one hurt. Let's hope that continues to be the case. It looks like this one is ending peacefully, and I'm sure throughout the day we'll be getting some more updates from local law enforcement, both Kaufman County and Dallas County Sheriff's Office, since they've helped with this pursuit. Looks like one individual hopped out of a black, possibly Mercedes, that led police on that pursuit from Kaufman County, ran through a residential neighborhood in Northeast Dallas. Not sure exactly which subdivision this may be, but it's densely populated with homes. We saw that individual scaling several fences trying to lose the police canine, and
I think that's going to do it for us. I mean, the guy is in custody. There's no longer a threat to the public, and so we're going to sign off here. And we'll have the latest today at 4 o'clock.
Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to take you back to your regular programming.